Welcome to this Kubernetes and CKAD tips number 10. Here we will be talking about levels. Levels are very important aspect of Kubernetes management. However, it looks very simple and humble, but it has got a lot of significance. Just to give you an example, how level works and what is the importance of the level, we'll see a deployment which we just done, and that deployment basically created few replicas and few pods. And if you notice here with the option dash dash show levels, it shows the level, which is not by default an option otherwise. And you notice there is a level called app equals nginx. Okay, for all the three pods we have app equals nginx, but for the deployment also app nginx, the replica set app nginx, right? Which means that whenever there is a deployment, it monitors all the pod which matches its label it need to observe. So for example, you need to observe a database deployment, and let's say you mention that type equals to DB as your pod level, and deployment will keep watching those pods which has got that level, and if any one of them goes down, depending on how many replicas you need or you have defined, if anything is less than that number, it'll immediately spin up one more pod with the same level so that it can keep monitoring. It ignores rest of the other objects in this cluster. So it is so important that way. Now let's see how we can have levels added into the pods. Because we don't manage the pods here, which is created by deployment, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a new pod called krun nginx pod. Okay, and then I say image nginx, and I say that the pod got created. Now if I say k get pod and then show levels, if you do that, you see that the nginx pod got some run equals to nginx pod. That's a default level which got added, right? If you want to add additional level, you can say k levels, k levels, and if you just enter, sorry, k level, it says that you need to specify something else. So let's see what else. Now you have gotten help, right? And it says that k level, the pod, all pod, and then add this level, which means it will add to the all pod. If you want to add to a specific pod, so you say pod name and then the level, right? So if you want to, let's say, add a level to the pod which we just now have created, I'll say k level pod. You can use also po or pod or po slash, anything which is convenient for you. So I prefer po space pod name, that is nginx pod. Okay, and then you just say that type web. If you do that and then you run this show levels, you see that new level got added to the fourth pod, which is the pod which is just now have created, right? And then if you, let's say, want to remove a level, so you say k level pod nginx pod dash run, that's the level, minus. If you do that, the level is kind of removed. Just to verify, you don't see the run nginx anymore, so that level is removed. Another way is to go into edit mode or add it. So for example, let me add one more level, that is type, and if you are trying to add the same thing again here, let's say instead of type I say db, it'll give an error because that thing is already there. However, you can basically use override, and then it will be changed from type web to type DB, right? So if I say show levels, now you see type DB. So you can change an existing level to something else, or you can add a complete new level. So level, you can keep adding level and it will show up in this list of levels one by one separated by comma. So if I, let's say, want to add another thing called client, who is the client for whom I build this application, I say Contoso. And then if I show that now, you will see that I have got typedb and Contoso. Now, if you see the YAML, right, which is actually the, the deployment script, so how it looks like, so edit PO nginx pod, you see that this basically now contains two levels, right? So you can see that inside here in the level, let me highlight that. You have got levels, and then you have one level that is client, another is type DB, right? So that's a kind of way how you can add. So if you are deploying a pod using uh, YAML file, you can add them in the YAML file like this. So it should be part of your metadata where the labels will be added, right? So that's how you add level. If you want to remove, you remove the level. So if you just say remove this, the label is gone, right? And then I'm in edit mode, so it should accept that. And then if I now say show levels, you will see only one level. So I can either remove the level from the command prompt, or I can go into the YAML and remove the level. Either way is acceptable, right? So you can pretty much modify an existing object and add remove levels, or modify an existing level. And I have seen that if you already have that level present, you can rewrite that level by using dash dash override, right? So that's a kind of a behavior. You can have an object without any level as well. So that's also possible, right? So if you do not, let's say, if you say level this, and then you say that I don't want this client level, say minus. So if it does like that, you do not have any level. That's also fine. So it is not mandatory to have level in the object, right? But you can have level, and level has got so much of importance for uh, loosely coupled on objects to interact with each other. So Kubernetes is built in a concept from microservices. So you can think of that they are loosely coupled objects. So if you have a deployment which is monitoring a pod, you don't need to create that. Your deployment will monitor based on the levels defined in the pod. So if you do not have that level, the deployment will assume that it's missing one pod, it'll create one more pod, right? So that's how it works. So if you notice here in the list of pods, I've got let's say 3 pods, and if I remove the deployment, the level from one of these pods, right? So if I say level, and then if I use this pod name, which I kind of picked up, and then I say I don't want this app pod level, and I remove this, and I say that show levels, you will see the 4th pod getting populated because deployment couldn't find a pod. That's why it populated one more pod, right? So because I removed that level. So you will find that 4th pod getting created earlier, it was 3 pods. So that's what it basically is so significant here. Just to give one more try, you can basically have this replaced. So let me say that, hey, I want to remove app from another pod, not this one, and then it just removed the level. And if you show levels, you will find 5th pod from that deployment because deployment keeps monitoring, right? So hope this was helpful and you understood the significance of the level. However, level is not mandatory. If you completely don't use a level and create a pod, it still will work fine. With this, thank you very much and thanks for watching.